good day. Welcome to Cacoa Tea. I want to say special good afternoon to all those of you joining me from near and far. Wherever you're locked in, thank you so very much for choosing us. I want to first of all say thanks to those of you on Facebook Live. You know, you log in every single time that we're on. You wait for the notifications to populate, and then you're locked in. I want to big yourself up one time. I want you to big yourself up 2 times. And I want you to drop a line so that I know where you're locked in from, who you are. You know, just tell me a little something about you if it's your first time on the live. You know, if you're enjoying the shows, anything you want to say to me. You know, I want to shout out all my friends, my fans who log on every single week. I also want to big up the friends and the fans who come on Digicel Play Go. So in 30 countries, this show is live. As long as you have the app, as long as you have DigiPlay Go, you're good to go. And you can actually see this show live. Hi, Anya Peters. What's up? Just came on. Thanks for joining. Thank you so very much for joining. Yes, so it is Sunday. Usually we do this on a Saturday, but we're here on a Sunday. We've done a few Sundays in the past. I think I kind of enjoy doing the Sundays too. But you know, once the weather starts getting nice, and nobody want to be home on a Sunday afternoon. We'll see about what the rest of the season has to bring in terms of Sunday shows. But I'm so grateful that you take your time out of your Sunday to be here with me, because you could have been anywhere else, right? So thank you so very much for joining us. As you can see, I have a lovely guest from my home country, the nature island of Dominica. She's going to be joining us. I got a chance to connect with her yesterday, and it almost felt like I knew her forever. I don't know if it's a Dominican thing, though. It probably is a Dominican thing. I don't know if you guys can relate, probably, you know, to connecting with people from your island that you've never met before, and it's the first time and you just click. Yeah, so we were having a blast. Her fiance kept popping in. He popped in the back to say hi. We're going to talk a little bit about the fiance. Yes, I'm going to give you the little tea on the fiance. The fiance. Yes, and so we're going to be talking here. Welcome to Cacoa Tea, guys. Hi, Belle Angel, my darling. How are you? I hope you're enjoying the sunny weather that we're having. We have a nice weather right now in Toronto. So we're so grateful to the Most High for giving us such great weather. I tried something different with my hair today. I don't know if you guys are liking. You know, I mixed the turban with the bohemian. Yes, so I tried to get something. Let's see if it works. And before I forget, let me just let you guys know, because people always inbox me and ask me what lipstick I'm wearing. So I'm going to tell you. I actually mixed it up. I'm wearing High Maintenance. So this is the High Maintenance. This is the color that's in the corner. And I mixed it up with Trophy Wife. Yes, you know me, Trophy Wife. Yeah. So these are the lipsticks I'm actually wearing today. They're no transfer. So they're the Velvet Matte Lip, no transfer. If you're in Dominica, you can pick them up at the Glam. So just say, I want those lipsticks Jael was wearing. Yo, their price is the bomb diggity. So you need to go and check out the Glam in Roseau and pick up the Sasha Intense Matte Lip Velvet in High Maintenance and Trophy White, and you can get that awesome lip look, okay? All right, yeah. So we're gonna get started with our show today. I need to make sure I put this somewhere so that it doesn't fall, fall down. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Thank you so very much for locking in. I'm gonna start a watch party on my page, because I know a few of you tend to enjoy watching the show on my Facebook page. So I'm going to do that just for you. You know how I love you people, I really do. I'm really grateful to every single one of you who support. Oh, before I forget, the mugs are going to be back in rotation coming soon. I'll let you guys know. Just stay connected to my page. I'll let you know when mugs are back up, like when we have more for ordering, because I'm all out. Like, this is the only mug I have left, and that's the one I'm drinking right now. So I'll let you guys know once it is available to actually purchase. So you can do that through my website, or those of you who are in touch with me, you can DM me and I can organize you guys. All right. So as I said before, I have a lovely guest coming on. She's actually in the lobby right now, standing by and waiting for the show to start. So she can come on.
So I like.
And she is from Dominica. Yeah, you heard some feedback because I was just starting a watch party, and I tend to forget when I start the watch party that I need to get out of the app so I can do it. Yes, so she is from Grand Bay. So Grand Bay Massive, if you're on the live, big up yourself. Let me know if you're on. Let me know if you're connected. Let me even know if you know who's coming on, if you know a little thing about her, if you remember her growing up, let us know. We want to connect with you guys. Don't forget to share the link. There's a little button at the bottom that he just hit share so that everybody else can be on with you. So share the link so that everybody else can see and hear her story today. I want to wish my dear sister, who is the founder of Carrie Scholar, that is your Caribbean mentorship website that you can get all the different mentorship programs or getting information on the different mentorship programs around the Caribbean. That's how I connected with Royette, who's my guest today, and my sister, who is an amazing talent. I mean, those of you who know her, or follow her website, or follow her page. It's her birthday today. Yes, she is the big 30. I don't know why she's telling everyone her age because she just makes me look so much older. Anyways, so she's celebrating her birthday today, and I want to wish her happy 30th birthday. I can't believe she's 30. I mean, I remember just the other day, she was like a 2-year-old. She used to stammer so much as a baby, and I used to tease her so much about her stuttering and stuff. And she's definitely grown up to be an amazing individual, and I want to wish her a happy birthday. And if you're on my profile, you saw I posted pictures of her. Make sure you drop a link and a line and say happy birthday to my dear sister for me. All right. So Liza Granby, Liza Liverpool is in the house. Granby Massive is locking in. Thanks, Emo News. Emo, you on Emo? Make sure you share the live. Share the live so everybody else can see. Emo News is on. Thanks, Emo. Emo says I look nice. Auntie Emo, you know how to give me a compliment and make me blush. Share, yes. Thank you guys for coming on. We're gonna get my guests on right now. I hope you guys are ready. We have an exciting show planned for you, as I always do, and I wanna tell you guys, hold on to your seats because we have a show coming up, and I know you're definitely gonna enjoy this one today. All right, so without no further ado, I sound like those Dominicans when they introducing things. Without no further ado, let's get ready for. Yes, from Dominica. Well, she's actually in the US of A right about now. I want to say a special good day to my guests joining me right now. Here is Dr. Royette Tavernier.
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. You look lovely.
Oh, thank you. So do you.
Thank you. You don't need my matching lippies, right?
Yes.
How is the weather in your neck of the woods?
The weather is getting much better. Finally, signs of spring. We had a lot of wind and a lot of cold days a couple weeks ago, but things are warming up, so it's looking good.
That's good. That's good. And you work the entire. You're not on break yet. You're still working, right?
No, I was off on spring break for 2 weeks at the beginning of March, but classes are back in full session.
Great. All right, so she's here with us. If you guys want to connect with her after the show, during the show, you could follow her on her Instagram and Twitter account. The links are provided either above or below, depends on where you're looking. So if you're looking from a phone, the link might appear differently than if you're looking on a computer. And usually on a computer it's at the bottom, sometimes on the phone it's at the top. Again, it depends on what you're looking at it. You can actually follow her on her website, her Instagram, and her Twitter account. All the information is provided there for you. As I always say during every show, you are welcome to ask questions. I always urge people to ask questions while the show is going on because you might forget or you might ask late and we might not have time to answer, or whatever, I do take note of the questions. And of course, when it's time for that segment, we'll come back to your question. All right. So go ahead and ask her questions if you have questions pertaining to especially her profession, because she is a psychologist, and she's going to be talking to us a little bit about what got her to where she is today. As you know, Royette, I'm sure you've looked. It's okay to call you Royette, right?
Of course, that's my name.
Some people fresh, some people are like, no.
Doctor, please, doctor to you. Royette is totally fine.
All right, so Royette is on with us, and thank you for being agreeing to be a guest. Thank you for sending me that email and saying, hey, I want to be on. I really do appreciate people like you. Just your story, and people don't even know, just your story can touch somebody's life and do so much for someone, right? And I always sometimes I get because I get people asking all the time to be on the show, and sometimes I get emails and I'm like, I try to figure out, but what angle can I take this person's story in terms of their bio, right? And it's always so interesting that once I start like putting down the questions, and I'm just like, hey, like everybody's story is different, and it's unique, and it's your own, and you can even if you may have been through the exact same thing as somebody else, the way you deliver it is not going to be the same way that somebody else is delivering, right? Or your experience is not going to be exactly the same. And I remember going through your profile, and one thing struck out with me, when in your bio, and I did ask you a little bit about it last night when we did the test run. But before we get into the heat of things, I always like to ask my guests. I like to know who that person is in terms of who you think you are, right? And a question that I like to ask is, who is Royette Tavernier? Who are you?
Wow, it's a loaded first question, Jael. I'm gonna need some cocoa tea first.
You have a mug? Let me see. Where's your mug? Where's the mug? Shit. Look at that. What does it say? Amazing. Oh, you are an amazing woman. Oh, didn't hubby give that to you? Trying to show
He
up.
did. But we'll get to him. Who is Royette Tavernier? So I think, like everybody else, there are different sides, different angles, different, parts of yourself that, come together and make you who you are. So I think probably the part of me that I have, I would say invested in the most would be my education. And so being a professor, I think, is a big part of my identity. I've only been a professor for 3 years at Wesleyan, but all the years of schooling, led up to that. And so I like to think of myself as a very hardworking professor. It's not an easy profession, but it's one that I have always wanted to do. So I'm very grateful that I actually get to live out my dreams of being a professor, being in the classroom, continuing to learn from my students as well as my colleagues. And so that's certainly a part of who I am in terms of what I do. Secondly, I like to think of myself as a good friend. I have been so blessed with many friendships. I've lived in a couple different countries, and I feel like I have always been supported by a close group of friends wherever I have been blessed to live and to spend time to grow. And I try to give that back. In many different ways, supporting my friends, enjoying their highs and supporting them through the lows, because it's something that I have been blessed to receive in terms of, that unbreakable bond that is so special within a friendship. Thirdly, I would say that Royette is very reflective, and to some of my friends, it can be annoying. because I tend to overanalyze. But I think it's always been a part of me. Even, growing up, I was always very curious. I always asked a lot of questions. And I think of the big things. I think of the small things. I think about what my purpose is in this world. What are some things that I can do to make it a better place for those around me and for myself? And I think about the small things too. When I'm eating my rice and peas and chicken, I think, do I take a little bit of rice first and then some lentils and then some meat and I mix it all together? So I'm very reflective. I like to look back on, at the end of every day, I like to look back and sort of ponder what I could have done better, what I probably could have changed. And so I'm always thinking and looking for ways to improve and to grow. And lastly, I'd say that Royette is in love. I don't know if that's an adjective, but almost 2 years ago now, met the love of my life, and being in love is completely new to me in some ways, and it's definitely something that consumes my heart and consumes my day in the most positive of ways. So, how's that for who is Royette?
So you're a lover, you're an analyzer, and what is the other one you said you are? You are a friend, and you always reflected. Yeah, always reflected, and that's who Roy is. But before you got to, because a lot of times, we have to actually take a step back to find out who we are.
Correct.
Before you got to that point, you grew up in Granby. You were this little girl growing up. South City, Granby, Isabantan land.
Yes.
And what are some of the things that you can recall that was fun for you in terms of your childhood?
I'd say the first thing that comes to mind is the mango tree that we had in our yard. And my brother and I always used to climb that mango tree. Sometimes just for fun, even when it wasn't mango season, we would just climb the tree and have some very fun memories of that. Playing rounders and cricket in the road with my neighbors. Lawide, Granby. That was fun. I also have fun memories of combing my great grand aunt's hair. I lived with her growing up, and while combing her hair, she would tell me, stories of growing up, stories of going to the garden, and that's something I always look forward to.
You mentioned your brother. You mentioned your great grand aunt. What was life like at home? Like, how many did you have siblings besides your brother? Who else lived in the home with you?
Yeah, so growing up for a long time, it was my great grand aunt who raised my mom. So that was my mom's immediate mother figure. Her name was Ma Willie, and she was this big lady who used to sit in the porch with her stick, ready to discipline, when it was necessary. So it was my great grand aunt Ma Willie, my mother, her partner, my older brother Royson, my younger sister Kendra, and my younger brother Alpha. So Royson and I have the same father, and Kendra and Alpha, they have the same father. So my mom had 4 kids by 2 different guys. So for a long time, it was 3 adults and the 4 kids.
And what was life like in the house?
Life was fun. I got along with my sister for the most part. We argued a lot, like it's typical for for many sisters growing up. But I remember she was an athlete growing up, and I remember just being so proud of her. and going to her games in the park and screaming my lungs out. And some of the kids knew me as Kendra's sister, Kendra's loud sister. My younger brother Alpha was always a bit more reserved. So he didn't really talk much up to this day. He, kind of keeps to himself. My older brother was the troublemaker, and I think my other siblings would agree. But it was a fun household. We played a lot of games. We were always playing around, not just with my siblings, but with kids in the neighborhood as well. So overall, it was a very happy childhood.
You when you reference your upbringing in your bio, something that stuck out to me, and I think I mentioned something stuck out earlier, and I'm just going to bring it back, bring it up now. You said that you grew up poor. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So interestingly, growing up, I didn't really know that I was poor. And I think that's probably a sentiment that a lot of people in my village or in Dominica in general can relate to. Because typically when we see, photos of poverty, it's often, photos of suffering. It's almost to the extreme, right? And oftentimes poverty is meant to be equivalent with, suffering or, sadness, right? But growing up, I didn't really know that I was poor. But the older that I got, reflecting back on things like, not having an in-house flushing toilet for the most part growing up, right? Having to use a pit toilet outside, not having, over time, we eventually got a sink in the kitchen. But I remember having to wash dishes outside. I remember having to bathe with blue soap, right? Because we couldn't afford sweet soap. I remember, having to ration toilet paper because there was not another roll waiting. I remember, going to the shop and having to query, going to Nano and Baba shop and having to query because my mother couldn't afford, to buy food depending on what time of the month it was. And then I think about certain things like my mom having to make two eggs and $2 bread stretch for 4 kids. And I mean, right now I eat 2 eggs for breakfast by myself, right? So in that way, I would say that I grew up poor, but I don't think, growing up poor is synonymous with, growing up, sad or unhappy. We just didn't have a lot, materially. My mom never worked. So she was 100% dependent on her partner, who did odd jobs, here and there. So it wasn't always a consistent income. For a long time, we were actually dependent on my great-grand-aunt's pension money from her husband. And when she passed, I think, it was, obviously a big turning point for the family. And so in that way, I would say that I grew up poor. And, obviously there are people who grew up with much less than what we had. I remember, for example, for my first communion, I really wanted a first communion party. And my mom put me, she sat me down and she said, right, I just cannot, right? We just don't have the money to give you a party. But I'm gonna buy you a Fanta. I'm gonna buy you a Fanta. And at that time, I was like, that's essentially a party because usually I would have to share, we would have to share everything with my siblings. And that Fanta, being able to drink that Fanta by myself was huge. And so those are some of the memories that I have, growing up, just reflecting on, things we didn't have materially.
Yeah, I find though, like, being from a small island, we tend to we tend to class a lot. Poor, rich, and
Yeah.
there's no real middle class, so to speak.
Right. Right.
It's either you're poor or you're rich.
Right.
But I don't recall people. I can put probably pinpoint one or two people who really had it really bad. But everybody was still so happy.
Yes.
Everybody, like I remember my dad would go fishing, and he would come home and he'd give X, Y, and Z person some fish.
Yeah.
You'd get a hand of fig from someone.
Yes.
You
Plantain.
you were never hungry.
Yes.
So that I understand when you say
Yeah.
you growing up you were made to think poverty would be associated with a certain look, like a picture, and I remember seeing those World Vision ads.
Yeah.
That's what poverty is. That's poor people, drinking dirty water and those things. And we never went through those things.
Exactly. Exactly.
But there are aspects of our lives that you could say, wow, my mommy didn't really have, like
Looking back. Yeah.
Like I remember, like we were not. I would not consider our family to be poor at any given time, but there were times when sacrifices had to be
made. Yeah.
And it could be for different things coming up. Probably you have something that you have to do. You have something in the house. You have a life changing experience. Probably somebody fell ill and you have to help them. And my mom would say, well, I guess, I remember my mom saying, she wore a bra for years, the same one bra for years, but because she couldn't afford to buy a bra, it just meant that she had to take
sacrifice,
and use for something else. And we don't really, I want you to stop thinking that you grew up poor, because at the end of the day, you had a happy childhood.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
And poverty, you associate poverty with misery and all of it. You didn't have that.
No, correct.
So there were sacrifices that
needed to be made, for sure.
And now you grew up in Grand Bay is the cultural capital of Dominica, if people don't know.
Yeah, we are.
So tell us a little bit about your school days.
My school, this there's a song that says school days are happy days. That's very characteristic of my school days. Like I said, I've always been blessed with an amazing group of friends. And my group of friends and I used to, make plans to buy the same color ice pop at break time. That's how tight we were. I have very fond memories of my friends and I walking up Lally from primary school, or walking down Lally when we started going high school. I have fond memories of being in teacher Addie's drama club, practicing performances, for different events. I have memories of just hanging out with my friends, going at Cathy home, Mabouche, going at Gisha's home, and just having a good time, playing doll, playing house.
Dolly. You're from Grand Bay, you should be saying
yeah. So, and I've always, doing homework was one of my favorite pastimes. I actually look forward to doing homework. And I took a lot of pride, in my work. I remember, sometimes having to tear an entire page and start over just because I didn't want to hand in a homework with anything, crossed out. And so I really enjoyed learning. I've always enjoyed learning. So even, being in class was, I thought that was, to me, that was fun.
Now, I just want to take a moment before we continue, because people have been coming on and sending shout outs to you, and I want you to to say hi to some of them. We have Liza Liverpool, or Liza Liverpool. She said you were a dance teacher.
Yes.
Dance teacher. There's also someone by the name of Jules Faith Shields. But people always use some kind of weird name.
People use different names on Facebook. Yeah. So
Hi, doctor. So I guess she knows who you are.
okay.
Merlene Tavernier, she says, family, I'm listening.
Yes, Mulija.
Yeah, so these people are coming. Okay, so Jules is saying that you were her dance choreographer and her film director.
Yeah, so after free from college, I taught at Granby Secondary School, back then GBSS, now PCSS, for a year. And I taught math and English. And I noticed that the kids, when bell rang and it was time to go home, a lot of the kids sort of wanted to, hang around. And, in talking to them and finding out, what they enjoyed doing, or, what some of the challenges, were that they were facing at the time. I just had the sense that they needed a place to feel heard, and they just needed a place to be themselves. So me, with my fast self, with no dance experience whatsoever, decided that I was going to form a little dance group. It started off with probably maybe 6 or 8, mostly kids from, the forms that I was teaching at the time. And we participated in some of the shows, in the village, around Independence time, around Carnival time. And then I started getting more and more requests from some of the kids. And so that's how the dance group, started and continued. So much so that boys wanted to join.
Wow. Of course, if the girls are there, the boys are going to want to join. We have also Judy. Judy is on. Oh, I think we may have gotten disconnected from her. Okay. Anyways, she's gonna come back on. We have Judy is on. We have Serenity Granby is on as well from Granby. Then we also have, let's see who else we have here. So if you're just logging on, we have Dr. Royette Tavernier with us. She just got disconnected, but she's coming back on. Don't you worry, she's back on with us. And
there you are.
You got disconnected for a split second. I suspect some notifications were coming in. You're trying to get rid of it, and you got rid of me instead, right?
Oh, that's what happened. I'm sorry. Me and my big fingers.
We had that discussion about your fat fingers last night.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so people, San Martin is on.
Yay!
In. Aretha Leatham is saying hi, Royette. Leatham is like a South City last name.
Yes, definitely.
Somebody from your area.
Yes.
Essentially, Zaffa Gwabi.
Yes.
Granby people wanted to support their own.
Thank you, guys. Yes, we do support our own. Yeah.
And showing love. Don't forget, guys, to make sure you share the link so other folks can get to see this interview. Just hit the share button and let other folks get in on the action. Okay, so we'll continue with the interview here with Dr. Royette Tavernier. Why was education so important to you?
At a very young age, I heard the saying that education is the key to success. And I think that just really resonated with me. Like I said, growing up, sacrifices, I'm not going to say I grew up poor, sacrifices needed to be made. And I just felt that
we're changing the narrative on that.
We're changing the narrative, right? We're changing the narrative, we're changing the tone.
Yeah.
And I just thought that if I kept at my studies, if I kept at school, that I was going to be in a position where, first of all, I didn't have to depend on a partner 100% to provide for my kids, if and when I'm blessed to have any, because I saw how much my mom struggled with not having worked in her life, and some of the things that we went through because of that. I sort of observed different power dynamics, based on the fact that she wasn't working, and I used that as motivation, to keep me going, to get me enrolled in school. Like I said, I actually enjoyed school, and I thought that, well, if I can go as far as I can, then probably I will be able to be in a better position to take care of myself, and to take care of my family.
Okay, now you decided that you were no longer going to remain in Dominica. What happened? Why did you leave? And where did you go to?
Okay. So after high school, I did 2 years, 2 years at the Dominica State College. And during my second year, I had an opportunity to go to Antigua to participate in a public speaking competition. Mm-hmm. I should preface that by saying that I too used to stutter, or bégayer, like we say back home, as a kid. And over time, I guess I just got over it. And I was so excited that I could actually, speak without stuttering, that I decided to join the debate club. At that time, Joanne Xavier Coffey was a teacher at PCSS, and she was in charge of the debate team. And my debate buddy, Katian, Kato, like I call her, Katian Henderson, and I, we actually brought the championship to PCSS. So that was a very exciting time for us and for the school. And so because of my experience in debating, when this opportunity came up to participate in a public speaking competition, in a regional public speaking competition, Mrs. Coffey and her husband, Val Coffey, actually took it upon themselves to sponsor me to attend this competition in Antigua. Mm-hmm. At the time, we needed some assistance from the government, and unfortunately, it just did not come through. And like I said, they took it upon themselves out of their pocket, paid my ticket, and allowed me to participate in that competition. So that competition was in 2002. And I think it was about 8 participants from different islands in the region. And I emerged the winner. And lucky for me, the prize from that competition was a tuition scholarship to the University of St. Martin.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I decided to finish up my last year at the State College back home. I did 2 years. I did my associate's degree in St. Martin, which is where some of my St. Martin roots are coming from. So I spent 2 years there. And it was just so amazing how one thing unfolded after the other. So at the competition in Antigua, I met the dean of the university at that time. He had traveled from St. Martin to attend the competition to award the winner the prize. And so I met with the dean of the university at the time. And then when I moved to St. Martin, he and his wife essentially were the only people that I knew. And so out of the goodness of their hearts, knowing that I didn't have anyone on the island that I knew, they decided to house me for about a week while I found housing. Mm-hmm. And that relationship continued. We can talk a little bit more about, the role that they continue to play in my life. But essentially, the couple, Chuck and Sue, are my adopted parents. And
wait,
I know. I feel like we need some tea.
I mean, hold your horses, because you just brought in a new dynamic. right about now. So we need to
Yeah.
backtrack a little bit. Okay. So
Yeah.
you go to St. Martin,
Yeah.
to University of St. Martin,
Mm-hmm.
to do your associates,
Mm-hmm.
and you're living with, well, you lived with the dean for about a week
Mm-hmm.
before you got.
And his wife. Yeah.
How did you meet the second group of people that you just brought in?
So the dean, like I said, had attended the competition in Antigua,
Mhm.
and that was the initial contact. And so
So that's
essentially,
what Chuck is.
yes,
And okay, so
yes,
Chuck and Sue were
yeah,
actually the dean of the school in St. Martin.
yes. So Chuck was the dean, Sue is his wife.
Wow. So
Yeah,
you met these people in a competition. Well, this couple
yeah,
in a competition, they award you the prize. You
yeah,
end up living with them, and they end up adopting you.
yes. They are, I consider them my angels on earth because it gets better. Okay. So so like I said, my scholarship was for 2 years, right, to complete my associate's degree. At the University of St. Martin was actually where I took my first psychology course and really fell in love with psychology. So then I was thinking about the next steps, right? So towards the end of my 2 years in St. Martin, I was thinking about what I wanted to do next. Of course, I wanted to, pursue further education. I had no idea the process of applying to universities. A lot of the universities required a credit card at the time, which at the time, obviously, I did not have. And I remember spending Sunday afternoons with the dean and his wife, and they would just sit with me, help me through different applications, looking up different schools. And the wife, Sue, one of the schools that she had recommended was Trent University in Canada. Sue had actually attended Trent University herself. So that was one of the schools that she had recommended. That was one of the schools that was on my list. Applied to a few schools in the States, a few schools in Canada. And at the end of it, it turned out that I was awarded a full tuition scholarship to Trent University from the University of St. Martin. So obviously, I thought that was the way to go because how else was I going to be able to afford to go to university?
How did your mom feel?
My mom. So the thing about my mom that I really admired. So my mom unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but one of the things that I to this day continue to admire about her was that no fear attitude that she had always instilled in me. My mom herself was very shy. My mom stuttered. And I think that was partly why she, for the most part, kept to herself. She had very few friends. She was not very outgoing. But as a little girl, I was the opposite. I wanted to participate in everything, every, opportunity that I had to do any sort of extracurricular activities at school. I would run to her with a little form for her to sign, to give me permission. And she never held me back. She never held me back. She always encouraged me. She always pushed me. She never denied me an opportunity to do something that I wanted to do, as long as it was school related. And so I think for her, it was scary because I left Dominica with $2,000 in my pocket. I had to ask a really close friend of mine to take out a small loan so that I could purchase my ticket from Dominica to St. Martin. And so I really didn't know how I was going to fund my studies. But I was determined, and I always just knew that, with my attitude, knowing that that I'm open and willing to learn and attend school, I was confident that it was going to work out, So she would.
Who were some of the people besides your mom? Who were some of the people who inspired you?
So obviously, Chuck and Stu, like I said, they were really instrumental in not only, supporting my applications, but just walking me through the whole process, because it's a huge transition, right? To be living on your own, from an island girl to Canada. everything about, from the weather, prepping me for culture shock. They were very instrumental. I have a really good, close group of friends. We called ourselves the Survivors. At the end of high school, that was our name. Very, very supportive group of friends. I owe a lot to so that's another aspect of my family, my older adopted sister. That's a whole other, it's a whole other extension of my family. So Colin and I grew up as neighbors, and her mom took me in for a few years, and we did so much together. She always took me everywhere she went, and she really supported me in terms of school, from helping me with my homework to actually telling me what psychology was. I didn't know what psychology was. I remember vividly, she was studying in Brunei, and on one of her trips back home, in between her studies, she was telling me all about all the different courses that she was taking. And, me and my, curious mind, asked her, well, how do you know what classes to enroll in? And she said to me, think about something that you enjoy doing, and she can almost guarantee that there would be a program that I could pursue. And I said, well, I like to talk and I like to help people. And she said, so you should do psychology. At the time, I didn't know what psychology was. But if anyone had asked me, what are you interested in? Psychology. So I really credit my initial interest in psychology to her, Colin.
So you've had a few people come into your life at really good times.
Yes.
Earlier, you mentioned Val Coffee, so we want to big up, Val Coffee with his wife.
Yes.
You mentioned them being an integral part of literally taking money out of their pockets to fund your trip, which in all essence got the ball rolling.
Yes.
From then, you went to St. Martin. From then, you ended up in Trent. So you're in Trent and Trent University, and you're studying psychology, because finally you know what that psychology is. You're doing psychology and you're done. You complete your degree. What did you decide to do next?
So 2009 was a tough year. It was a wonderful year because that's the year that I graduated. I graduated Trent. It was also the year that my mom passed. My mom passed literally 10. I had booked a ticket to go home in between undergrad and graduate studies. So I knew that the next step was going to be to pursue my master's. And I had, again, gotten a tuition scholarship to Brock University. And so I purchased a ticket to go home in between my studies at the end of, graduating from Trent and before I started Brock. And 10 days before I was scheduled to go home, I got a call from my sister. My mom wasn't doing well. She had been at the hospital for 2 days, and unfortunately, she passed. And that was obviously a huge turning point in my life because, like I said, she had been such a huge, source of support and motivation for me. And I just started to question everything, like, why, why would and she was very young when she passed. So I had a lot of thinking to do about next steps. Some people asked me whether I was going to, go back to Canada and continue my studies, or whether I was going to, stay back in Dominica, and sort of help my siblings. And I just knew that my mom wanted me to continue. I knew that she wanted me to do what I always, wanted to do in terms of my schooling. So I decided to stick with the plan and move back to Canada, or continued my studies in Canada. After my master's, next step was PhD. Again, didn't really know how I was going to fund my PhD. I applied I applied to a different program at the same university. And I had such a wonderful advisor and mentor, Tina Willoughby, and she introduced me to this Canadian government scholarship that would essentially cover my entire studies, including housing. And I didn't really know why she wanted me to apply, because it was such a prestigious award. It was so much money.